Hi guys, and welcome back to another Dot Race video, and today we're going to be playing MotoGP 21. We're continuing on with our Moto 2 career mode, and it's round 9 for the Sachsenring here in Germany. So of course, here we are in this very different style of circuit. Of course, 9 left-handers and 4 right-hand turns for the Sachsenring. A very difficult track to navigate. Not one of my favourite tracks, but a good track nonetheless. Not sure how we're going to quite get on. I'm going to try and utilise everything we have available, such as hard option tyres, and even chucking in a medium there on the rear. Hopefully we can get through to Q2 without too many issues, but I would like to see us do a little bit better than we did in the Catalonia Grand Prix just a couple of days ago. Of course, the Catalan GP, without spoiling it too much, didn't go to plan. So we're sort of bouncing back here and just bouncing back bolder and better and try and maintain this championship lead. If possible, we would like to extend the championship lead, but at the very least, we want to be maintaining it. So now onto the very difficult left-hand side combination as we just go into turn 9 a little bit too tight there, and we end up invalidating the lap, so this lap will not count. Nothing to shout about at this particular lap because it has been wiped away from the history books, but we'll still continue the lap nonetheless because we can still learn. This is our first time utilising the Moto 2 bike here in this German GP, here in the Sachsenring. Now into the Sachsen curve, we go for turn 12, getting onto the left-hand side now for the turn 13, the Queckenberg. Now as you come out of this corner, we need to make sure that we don't accelerate too much and spin up the rear, because that will compromise our entire first sector by not getting the right amount of speed. Now going into the very difficult right-hander. This corner catches me out so much. I think I've had more crashes here in this particular corner than any other corner in the MotoGP calendar in every single game. And believe me, I've literally played pretty much every single MotoGP game because I am that much of a fanatic. We're now onto the right-hand side for Omega. 0.2 of a second down to Sam Lowe's time, or 0.2 of a second roughly from where we're off the pace. But onto the left-hand side now for turn 5. Hold this nice and tight line here. We still use a little bit out of shape there going into turn 5, but it's quite alright. We're still on board the motorcycle. The Petronas SRT rider is still going at full gas, full powers, with 0.3 of a second down to Sam Lowe's now. Onto the left-hand side for turn 8. We've run it a little bit wide there, but it looks like we're still okay. Getting onto the rubble strip, getting out of shape there. Oh, it's alright though. We still managed to stay on board the motorcycle, but goodness me, that was scary. We're going to pull to one side and allow a couple of riders to get through. And then, of course, we could start commencing our battle once again. Hector Gartho and a couple of other riders went past, trying to pick up a little bit of slipstream there from Hector Gartho, but wasn't able to stay within range of the Spaniard. But onto the left-hand side now for Sachsen Curve. We'll be going on the left-hand side once again in just a moment for the Queckenberg, as you've seen the lap prior. So that left foot sticking out of Dr. Ace. The classic familiar left foot, the left boot, that Dine Easy boot. You've seen it so much this season, and even last season. So of course we technically improved our lap time because we didn't set one earlier, but now going into turn 1, we've managed to invalidate the lap there, and you're going to see a very weird glitch here. It has changed the camera angle to the long lap penalty camera angle. I honestly have no idea why that has occurred, but I decided to include it in the video nonetheless. Has anyone ever encountered this before? Or is this just me? This is totally bizarre. This is not the first and not the last of the weird encounters or glitches I've had here in the Sachsenring. I don't know what's changed, but yeah, there you go. It's managed to go back to normal, so we can continue on with the lap. Granted, this one is going to be an invalid lap, so nothing to really rave about, but nonetheless, we'll stay. Oh, a little bit out of shape, and we've crashed here today in the Sachsenring. The Moto 2 World Championship is down. So that is the end of the session. Absolutely appalling stuff from Grant, but Fabio Di Giannantonio and Sam Lowe's and Tony Arbolino are your fastest riders of the day, and of course we'll be moving on swiftly to qualifying to see if we can right those wrongs and get into Q2. So as mentioned, qualifying time, Grant is dead last because that one lap time he did set was 7 seconds slower than everyone else, so it's now time for Q2, and Grant is already charging. Let's see what he can do here today. So of course he's got to do qualifying 1 and qualifying 2. This is going to be no easy feat, but we do have Nicola Buliger ahead of us, so as long as we get into his slipstream, we might be able to pick up a few extra tenths here and there. I don't feel like we're going to struggle too much, so I've decided to sort of just wing it. But my rule usually is in the practice and qualifying sessions, if I've had a heavy crash like the one in turn 9 just a moment ago, I usually then skip ahead because it feels realistic to do that way. It's probably not going to be a case of getting straight back on the motorcycle in about 5 minutes and cracking out some fast lap times. A crash like that would result in heavy damage for the Petronas SRT Calyx, and of course, even really painful and scary moment for Grant there. And I don't think it's right for him to jump straight back on the motorcycle and start doing battle once again. But responding well in qualifying 1 so far. He's still in 17th place, of course, because no one has placed a lap time as of yet, and we've invalidated yet again another lap time. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, we had the same issue last season with the Moto 3 bike. I do believe I invalidated 5 laps in a row, I think it was. Something silly like that. But that is a factor of this track. It is very easy to touch the outside of the track, especially in the waterfall section, going downhill exactly where Jeremy Alcoba touched the green during the race this season in real life. That is also a place that I've been caught out many times before, and probably will, either in today's video or sooner or later. It's going to happen at some point. But we'll get onto the left-hand side, but still chasing Nicola Buliga, so we do have a chance of getting some slipstreams. Get a little bit too tight there onto the apex. Do be very careful of the rumble strips here in this track. They are quite treacherous. Now, I do like to use some of them, but most of them are a little bit unreliable, let's say. So, getting onto the left-hand side for turn 5, not touching the rumble strip, and we'll try not to on the outside of the corner there as well, because that also can be a little bit treacherous too. But nice tight apex there for turn 7. Get the bike lined up now, 38 thousandths of a second up compared to Stefano Manzi's time of a 1:23.688. And now going into the left-hander now for turn 9. Turn 10 to be navigated as well. Beautifully done. Still on the left-hand side of the tyre, so bear in mind those left-hand side of both the front and rear are going to look extremely bleak and battered towards the end of this lap. Now going into the difficult sort of left-hander, the Saxon curve, straight after the waterfall section. We've seen a lot of carnage and a lot of collisions in that corner, but now going into the final corner for the Queckenberg. Nice and tight apex here is what is required. Get it onto the fat part of the tyre and accelerate, and across the line we will go, and it's second place. Not a bad job there from the British rider, but as you can see, after jumping back into the pits and changing the fuel, changing the tyres, we have been demoted to 8th place, so we're going to need one heck of a lap to get ourselves into qualifying 2. Now, last season in Moto 3 we were the qualifying kings. Can't quite say the same here in Moto 2, but already being down 1/10 of a second into Jorge Navarro's time for Q2 pace of a 1:23.267. We have our benchmark, we know where we need to be, and we were close to getting near his time there, but not quite close enough. We still are in a great position to qualify, and we have a minute remaining of this session, and we're on a damn decent lap. Let's see what the Sector 3 time is going to be after this one, then I think we'll get a good indication. Sector 2, Sector 1, I'm usually pretty consistent in those parts, but Sector 3 usually lets me down. But as you could see just a moment ago, less than 1/10 of a second, we are behind Jorge Navarro's time right now. Now onto the right-hand side of the tyre. Not been on the right side of the tyre for quite a while compared to this point. Down by 1/10 of a second to Jorge Navarro. We still have a chance. Now onto the left-hand side for the Saxon curve. 0.3 of a second separates us to Tom Luthi now, who now goes to the top of the picture. We'll be trying to get into at least Q2 in the top 4 positions onto the left-hand side now for the final time. We will have one more go at it if we need it. Across the line we go, and is it enough? It is enough! Oh, Grant just barely gets through. Tom Luthi quickest with Jorge Navarro, Jake Dixon, and Grant just barely by the skin of his teeth gets into qualifying 2 by 32 thousandths of a second. Now it's time to do it all over here again. Qualifying 2 is now upon us, and of course we are in last position because we qualified 4th out of the 4 to get into Q2. But onto the right-hand side of the tyre we go. Is that Jake Dixon ahead of us now? Jake Dixon should be a good reference, as we both just entered Q1 together and both escaped Q1 without too much panic. I mean, there was a little bit of concern there towards the end, but I did have another lap to go at it, and usually they don't really improve the lap times at the end of the section, so I thought, why not let it fly and then move over to qualifying 2. I do feel like we have a good chance now. I do feel like we got into some good rhythm there. I feel like I could go a little bit quicker, and that is exactly what you need to do when you move into. And speaking of going quicker, up by 3.5 of a second to Bo Ben Schneider's time. The Dutchman is sitting pretty on pole for now, but for how long? Grant has chucked in a ridiculous second sector time. What's the third sector going to be? We know what they're like in the third sector. It can be good, but it can be bad. Can we nail it here? going into the third sector, up by 3.5 tenths of a second. We didn't touch the green, we're still in track limits. Now onto the left-hand side we go for the Saxon curve. Is this going to be enough? Is Grant going to do the business from dead last in practice to pole position in qualifying 2? Into the left-hand side of the tyre we go for the Queckenberg. A little bit out of shape there. The left-hand side of the rear tyre is burning up and Grant goes top. Brilliantly done. An astounding lap for the current World Championship leader, but he is only now ahead of Raul Fernandez by 17,000 of a second, so we can't rest on our laurels just yet. We need to chuck in at least another lap or perhaps 2 to try and maintain our lead. It's going to be rather tight and rather close. Good to see Jake Dixon's now in the top 10 as well, after he had to enter Q1 with me just a moment ago. Up by 34 thousandths of a second to our best lap time set on that previous lap of ours. Now onto the left-hand side for turn 5. Ran it a little bit wide there as Sam Lowes now inserts himself into the top position. Brilliantly done for the Elfmark VDS rider. For how long will he stay at the top though? He's up by 59 thousandths of a second to Matt Grant, but Grant is up by 41 thousandths of a second. You're talking the very, very littlest amount of times here. You blink and you'd miss the sort of corner. It's just unbelievable pace that these guys are putting on right now. The competition has definitely increased as Grant went a very, very tight apex there. As he goes onto the right-hand side for turn 11. Not been on the right-hand side for quite a while. Down into the waterfall section. Only 2 more corners to go. And Remy Gardner's now inserted himself into second place in this qualifying session. Grant demoted to third, but he's still on the front row. But for how much longer? He touches the outside of the track, and thankfully no track limit warning was given. Will Grant hook it up nicely? Coming into the final corner. Can he get it hooked up nicely as he goes across the line? He goes top by 8 thousandths of a second. Grant holds on to pole position after doing the business in qualifying 1 and now once again in qualifying 2. Brilliant result there from Matt Grant. That was absolutely awesome final lap to put himself at the top of the picture with Grant, Sam Lowes and Remy Gardner on the front row of the grid for tonight's Grand Prix at 8 PM. So guys, as always, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment and subscribe if you did. And I'll see you tonight at 8 PM for the Grand Prix. Thanks for watching, guys, and ciao for now. Oh, hi. Didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite set your appetite, then why not watch some more Dr. Ace content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single Dr. Ace video.